Hey everybody, I'm back with another vlog post, and today will be the first post that I'm going to do that's part of a series of posts, whereas a lot of mine are going to be kind of like one-off things. This is going to be ongoing. The particular thing I'm posting about today is self-contained. I'm posting about music, concerts in particular, but I will have an ongoing series about music. What I'm hoping to do is kind of go over my favorite songs, what they mean to me, as I do relate music to a lot of events in my life where it's people, places, things, experiences. Music has always been a big part of my life. But today I'm just going to focus on music concerts. So that, like I said, is going to just be a one-time kind of self-contained thing, because music concerts is not something I've done a lot of, but just kind of wanted to touch on that. So for you guys who don't know, I grew up in Port Washington, New York, on Long Island, about 27 miles out of New York City. And generally speaking, music taste up there was, northern artists, people like Billy Joel, Bruce Springsteen, rock and roll, things like that. Country's really not very big up there. But as a kid, my dad was a big fan of Kenny Rogers and somewhat Willie Nelson a little bit, so I did get to hear a lot of that. So there was a time when it was the early, no, I'm sorry, I take it back. It was kind of the mid 1990s or so, when Garth Brooks was kind of blowing up the scene, and he was going to do a concert for free in Central Park in New York. And I was working at a bank at the time, and this guy, Brian, I can't remember his last name, but it was just a coworker of mine that I was friends with. He was like so adamant. He's like, dude, we got to get on the train. We got to go to this concert. Because it was a free concert. And I was like, oh man, I like Garth, which I did. I was a fan of Garth Brooks' music and stuff, but I didn't want to go to the city. I've never really been a city person. Don't hate New York City, but you feel like a sardine in a can. Just it's a pain in the neck getting in and out. So he was begging me, dude, we gotta go, we gotta go, we gotta go. But I was kind of resistant to it. I passed, and it ended up being like one of the coolest concerts of all time, from what I heard. I think it was on HBO, if I'm not mistaken. And there was something like 100,000 people ended up showing up. And it's kind of funny because Garth kind of made the comment like, "Oh, nobody in New York likes country music," so that was kind of neat. But the first concert I ever actually went to was with my cousin that I grew up with, and we went to the Meadowlands in New Jersey, which is where the Giants and the Jets used to play, and the New Jersey Devils had their stadium there for a while. It was like a horse track, but it had the whole big complex out there. And we went to see Billy Joel, who was always one of my favorite musicians of all time. And I just remember it was cold, it was snow on the ground, we were freezing our cojones off waiting to get into the building there. We had pretty good seats. But awesome show. I mean, he just brought the house down. All the classics, Piano Man. I've got there's so many in my life, Honesty. Oh God, I'm drawing a blank. This is a matter of trust. All the best Billy Joel songs were. He was just rocking the place that night. He was on fire. Another concert I went to with my cousin was we went to see Bruce Springsteen in Shea Stadium, and kind of, as you'll see in some of my other videos, we have a habit of sitting in the nosebleeds, holding up the roof. It's kind of where we sat. Um, Bruce Springsteen, I've always liked his music. I kind of really gotten away from liking him as a person. Well, it's kind of an odd story. Like musicians and actors and actresses, generally speaking, I don't really like them. I like their music, like the Beatles. I love the Beatles' music, but I don't think I would have, liked them personally. So I kind of find that weird, circumstance going on where I don't like the person, but I like their music. Madonna, Sheryl Crow. Anyway, we'll get back to that in the future videos. But my cousin and I went to see Bruce Springsteen. Luckily, this was in the summertime, and I mean that was another awesome concert. I mean, he was rocking the place down. Him and the E Street Band. We had a great time with that. And it's always fun. Just my cousin and I. I don't have any brothers and sisters, so he's the closest thing I have. And we had a lot of fun as kids. Not as kids. I mean, this is we did have a lot of fun as kids, but this is like our late teen years, so we had a lot of fun with that. Um, we went out to Vegas in 1998, and it's kind of funny because my cousin never thought in a million years that I would go. I think he just kind of asked me out of courtesy. to say, oh, I asked if he turns it down, too bad. But he was very surprised that I agreed to go with him. So we went out to Vegas for a couple of days in '98. Now, I'm not a gambler, but I just had a lot of fun kind of walking up and down the strip, doing something that my grandmother used to do, just people watch. When I was a kid, we could take my grandmother to the mall when you used to be able to go inside airports because my dad was traveling. You could just plop her down and she would people watch and she would have like the time of her life. So I kind of got that from her. So while my cousin was, doing his thing in the casinos, I was kind of walking up and down the strip there and just having a good time. I mean, I had like a roll of quarters. That was all I gambled that week, and just had a blast. But one of the days, he's like, "Hey, let's go see a concert, man." And it was the Steve Miller Band, who was, I liked them growing up. They're a little bit before my time, but they still had a lot of classic hits. So we saw them at the MGM Grand in Vegas. And being that it was inside a casino, it's not this huge, venue or whatnot. But we were in like the fourth row, and I mean they were they were having a good time. I don't know if they were drunk, if they were high, whatever it was, they were jamming out. They were having a good time. We still, over 20 years later, almost, we're still joking about that concert. I mean that was a lot of fun. After I moved down to Houston, either before or after I was in the army, I don't really remember. Most likely after I was in the army and I came back to Texas. The Houston Rodeo every year. For you guys who don't know, it's this big thing. I mean, it goes to other cities, but it's kind of associated with Houston. They have their rodeo show every day, but at the end of every show, they have a music concert. So we were still in the Astrodome at that time. We saw Willie Nelson and Merle Haggard, and that was awesome. I mean, like two country legends. Like I said, I'm not the hugest country fan. I like more classic, old school country. There's a few artists, from nowadays that I like. Toby Keith is one, but I'm more like, okay, I know Garth Brooks is kind of commercialized country. He's not what you think of when you think of country, but from that generation, Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, Merle Haggard, Kenny Rogers, like that's the country music that I like. That era, that generation. So that was a great show. My cousin had flown down from New York to spend some time with me. We just happened to go. A couple of years after that, after I had gone to Atlanta and come back, for work, or well, I don't know, maybe I'm getting it mixed up, but basically, several years later on, when the Astrodome was kind of phased out. I don't even think they use it anymore, but I'm not really sure. And they had built, I don't know what it's called now. I think it was Reliant Stadium at the time, where the Houston Texan football team plays. I went to see Brooks and Dunn at the rodeo, and that was really good. I had really not been familiar with them until somebody I was dating. Well, not even dating, but this girl I was kind of associated with at the time, long before I met Rebecca. But she was big on Brooks and Dunn and got me into him. So that was a really cool concert. I didn't go with her or anything, but I just went to see them at the rodeo, and it was a nice stadium. We had good seats. Music was good, so I definitely enjoyed that. So music, as I've said many times, either on my Facebook page on things I post about, or I brought up in my original test run video, music plays a tremendous part of my life, and live music, not something I do very often, just these couple of times. But music overall plays a huge part of my life. The only other things I can think of, there was some kind of Earth Day thing I went to in Houston before the Army, where they had what the heck was their name? The Goo Goo Dolls was one of the bajillion people playing there, and it was okay. A Train was there. Didn't really like the atmosphere, not my cup of tea, not my speed, but hey, it was a free concert, so it was okay. And then I saw Lionel Richie probably about 12 years ago, something like that, when I was working for a bank before we left for New Orleans. The bank I was working with, it was like their 20-year anniversary or something like that. And they have a lot of associations with an area here just northeastern called the Woodlands. So there's a little Woodlands Pavilion up there, and for the bank's 20th anniversary, they had Lionel Richie come out and perform, which was a great show. I mean, you know, back in the '80s, you know, kind of my era. You think about it, was like Michael Jackson, Kenny Rogers, Lionel Richie. Those like the top three guys in the '80s. So it was cool to, you know, see see that as well. But generally speaking, I don't really go to concerts. I mean, my cousin, he's gone a lot more than I have. He's seen the Allman Brothers like, I don't know, 50,000 times. I mean, like he would always go see them at the Beacon Theater in New York. You know, so it's like every once in a while he would you know, offer me to go. It wasn't really my cup of tea, you know, but I mean, music concerts, it's kind of cool. I don't like it as much as going to a sporting event. Maybe so much the crowd, just a different atmosphere. You know, music I love, but I'd rather not listen to live music. As strange as that seems, you know. I do remember one time though, growing up on Long Island, we thought about ACDC was coming to play at the Jones Beach Amphitheater, which for those of you who don't know, Long Island, you know, there's one. Well, it's not one beach, but Jones Beach is like the big beach, and in the summer, like the entire island would go out to freaking Jones Beach. Well, they had this open rain or shine amphitheater that they still to this day, as far as I know, do concerts at. And ACDC was going to be there, and I don't know if it was sold out or whatever. My cousin and I had really, you know, thought about like just hanging out in the parking lot or hanging out in the beach with like, you know, some kind of like amplifying device so we could hear ACDC, which would have been really cool, but we didn't end up doing it, you know. Um, where was I going? I lost my train of thought. Anyway, you know, just stuff like that. Again, I'm not big on live music, but you know, the few little times that I did it, it was kind of cool. You know, I give it its credit where it's due. Um, I think I had more fun just because it was with my cousin, you know, because we were so close at that time. So you know, but hey, I mean, Billy Joel, Bruce Springsteen, their music growing up was like my life. A lot of it has to do with where I grew up. I mean, I'm sure if you're out west, you don't necessarily care as much. You know, it's like a lot of other things in life. It's a regional thing. You know, the Northeast region, Billy Joel and Bruce Springsteen are like the kings of that area. You know, as far as that type of music. You know, so that was cool. But like I said, I definitely think the company made it a lot better. You know, seeing those three shows with my cousin, those two in New York, the one in Vegas, I think the company definitely made it a lot better. You know. And like I said, when he came down to the rodeo to see Waylon and Willie, that was pretty freaking cool. But I got some friends in New Orleans that they're big. You know, well, they're a little bit older than us, so you know they're big on that era of music in like, you know, the late '50s and '60s. And oh, excuse me, sorry, it just kind of creeped out. Um, we went to probably about maybe in like the year before I left. You know, at some point there was a little kind of like a hall or something that was real close by us, and they had a like a Beatles tribute band, which was really kind of cool. You know, or it might have been two. I take it back. It was two different Beatles tribute bands that night. You know, and it was like $5 to get in or something. So, you know, we went only because it was so close, and it finally worked out where we could go to something like this with our work schedule. And I have to say, it was pretty freaking cool. It was like going to a Beatles concert, which the Beatles, music wise, are like my favorite band of all time, still to this day. So that was kind of neat. And, you know, to see these people in their 70s and maybe a little bit more, you know, getting up and jamming to Beatles music was pretty cool, you know. So that was an interesting experience that I'll always kind of remember. So, like I said, this one's kind of short. There's not a lot of concert experience I have, but you know, just kind of want to touch base with that. When I do get to talking about music, as far as my favorite songs, you know, the classic mixtape for people of my generation, those will be a little bit longer because I'll go into a little more detail. But just kind of wanted to touch base on that, you know, concert series, and you know, get the ball rolling as far as the videos I'm going to do that are part of a series and not one off. So hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you next time.